There are many units of measurement that may be used to specify length or size in CSS. Consider this page. Each div contains text corresponding to the assigned font size value. In this case, 12pt, 16px, 1em, and 100% are all equivalent in size. So which unit of measure should you use? Let's consider each. I have been using the PT unit of measurement for font size in previous videos. After watching this video, this is likely not what you will choose for most of your websites. The PT represents a point and is a unit of measurement traditionally used in print media. The point is an absolute unit of measure, meaning the size is always the same. Specifically, a point is 1/72nd of an inch. A 72-point font would therefore be 1 inch. This holds true for printed media. However, an inch on a screen is not always the same as an inch on a ruler. Screen resolution affects this. Other absolute units of measurement supported by CSS include PC for picas, mm for millimeters, cm for centimeters, and in for inches. All of these absolute units are most appropriate for print media, and the result on various screen devices may be inconsistent. A px is a fixed sized unit created just for screen media. A size of a px is the size of the smallest sized dot on a screen, and so is determined by the screen's resolution. Just as pt is a very precise measure for print media, the px is a very precise measure for screen media. Still, the px has a disadvantage that it shares with other absolute units. Imagine you set the size of a font on a website to 12pt or 16px. This is readable when viewed a few feet away from the screen, but it may appear too large when viewed on a mobile device a few inches from your face. What you really need is a relative method of sizing text. The em and percent units of measurement serve this purpose. The em is a scalable unit equal in size to the current font size. The percent is a unit that represents a percent of the current font size. Because the default font size for most browsers is 16px, 100% and 1em would both be 16px. Let's create a style for the body element and set the font size to 30px. Now, 1em and 100% are both the same as the new 30px document font size. The em and percents are scalable. Change the text and size of the fourth div to 1.5 em, and set the text and size of the last div to 60%. Now the text in the fourth div is 1.5 times larger than the document's font size, and the text in the last div is 60% of the document's font size. Add a paragraph inside the third div and use inline CSS to set its font size to 1.5 em. Will this be the same size as the other text in the div, 150% larger than the font size of the document, or will it be 150% larger than the other text in the div? As you can see, the latter is true. This is because the current font size is not the same as the font size of the document. This is an example of cascading. The font size of parent elements affect the font size of child elements when using relative units of measure such as em and percent. When this is not the intended behavior, you may use the rem instead of the em to base the font size on the root em. After making this change, the font size is now based on the font size of the document instead of the current font size of the parent element. The units of measurement are not reserved only for font sizes. Already in the code, we are using the px unit to set the margin bottom and padding of the div elements. Change the padding of the div elements to 0.5 em. Change the margin bottom to 0.2 em. Remove the first div and the div with the paragraph so that only 3 div elements remain. Set the text and the font size of the first div to 2.5 em. Set the text and the font size of the next div to 2em, and set the text and the font size of the last div to 1em. Now the padding in each div element is 0.5em, or 50% of the current font size. Since each div has a different font size, the padding on each div varies as well. The same is true of the margin bottom of each div. The size of the margins are relative to the font size of the div elements. Imagine you have used the em unit of measure throughout a website. If you create your entire site using em for your unit of measure, you can easily change the base document size to resize all the text on the site. Set the font size of the body to 10px. This may look too small, but on a mobile phone held close to your face, it may be perfect. If you do not need precise control over the size of an M, you may want to use keywords to define the size. Setting the font size of the body element to medium is equivalent to setting it to the 16px default value used by most browsers. Other keywords include x-small, equivalent to 10px, small, equivalent to 13px, large, equivalent to 18px, x-large, equivalent to 24px, and xx-large, equivalent to 32px. Changing the size of all the fonts on your site by adjusting only the font size of the document will come in very useful after you learn to use media queries to set CSS properties dependent on screen size. For example, when a small screen is detected, the font size of the body could update to 10px, and when a large screen is detected, the font size of the body could be updated to 16px. For now, my friends, that is all I have to say about units of measurement for the web.